Henrietta Lacks was born on August 1st, 1920, in Roanoke, Virginia, into a poor African-American family. Her parents, Eliza and Johnny Lacks, were tobacco farmers, and life on the farm was hard. Henrietta was one of 10 children, and she learned early the importance of hard work, resilience, and family support. Despite poverty and difficult circumstances, Henrietta was known for her lively spirit, intelligence, and deep sense of kindness. She had a quick smile and a laugh that could light up a room, qualities that drew people to her even in her early years. In 1924, when Henrietta was just 4 years old, her father passed away. This loss forced her family to move several times, struggling to make ends meet. Henrietta's mother worked tirelessly to provide for her children, and Henrietta helped by caring for her younger siblings and working on the farm. Despite these hardships, she attended school whenever she could, showing a particular curiosity about the world. When Henrietta was a teenager, she met David Lacks, a distant cousin, and they eventually married. The couple had 5 children together: Lawrence, Elsie, David Jr., Deborah, and Joseph. Henrietta was a devoted mother, teaching her children values of hard work, love, and faith. She worked in jobs available to African American women at the time, including cleaning and sewing, and she was always determined to support her family, even when opportunities were scarce. In the early 1950s, Henrietta moved with her family to Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore was a city with opportunities, but it was also segregated, with strict racial barriers in housing, education, and healthcare. One day, Henrietta discovered a small lump in her cervix. Concerned, she visited Johns Hopkins Hospital, one of the few hospitals that treated African Americans. The doctors examined her and diagnosed her with cervical cancer. This news was frightening, but Henrietta remained strong. She trusted the doctors and agreed to undergo treatment. During her treatment, doctors needed to take tissue samples from her tumor for research. At the time, it was common practice to take cells without explicit consent, especially from African American patients. Henrietta's cells were taken and sent to the laboratory. Little did anyone know that these cells would become revolutionary in medical science. Unlike normal cells, which die after a few divisions in the lab, Henrietta's cells kept growing endlessly. They were immortal. Scientists named them HeLa cells, using the first 2 letters of her first and last names. The discovery of HeLa cells opened a new chapter in medical research. These cells could be used over and over, allowing scientists to conduct experiments that were previously impossible. HeLa cells contributed to numerous breakthroughs, including the development of the polio vaccine, cancer research, and studies of viruses and genetics. They were sent to laboratories around the world, used in thousands of scientific studies, and became the foundation for countless medical advancements. Despite the global impact of her cells, Henrietta herself suffered greatly. Her cancer worsened despite treatment, and she experienced severe pain and exhaustion. Her family supported her, but they also faced the daily challenges of poverty, racism, and limited access to health care. In October 1951, at the age of 31, Henrietta Lacks died, leaving behind her 5 children and a grieving husband. Her death marked the end of her life, but the beginning of a story that would touch millions of people worldwide. For decades, Henrietta's family did not know that her cells had been used in groundbreaking research. They lived in relative poverty and often struggled to make ends meet. Her children had to grow up without their mother, and her husband, David, faced the challenge of raising 5 children alone. It wasn't until the 1970s that the Lacks family learned about HeLa cells, when scientists began contacting them for interviews. They were shocked to discover that their mother's cells were alive in laboratories around the world and had contributed to major medical discoveries. The revelation was both inspiring and upsetting. On one hand, Henrietta's cells had helped millions of people, yet her family had never been asked for permission, nor had they received any financial benefits. This raised important ethical questions about medical research, consent, and the rights of patients. Henrietta Lacks' story became a catalyst for discussions on medical ethics, and it helped change laws to protect patients' rights. Today, patients must provide informed consent before their cells or tissues are used for research, a standard that was inspired in part by Henrietta's experience. Beyond the scientific impact, Henrietta's story is a powerful example of courage, resilience, and humanity. She faced poverty, racial discrimination, and a deadly illness with strength and dignity. Her contributions were unintentional, but they changed the world. HeLa cells remain one of the most important tools in medical research, and their influence continues to grow. Scientists continue to study HeLa cells to learn more about diseases, genetics, and new treatments. Henrietta's family eventually embraced her legacy. Her children, especially her daughter Deborah, worked to share their mother's story with the world. Deborah Lacks became an advocate for ethical medical research and for recognition of her mother's contribution. The Lacks family has also partnered with institutions to educate the public about medical ethics, patients' rights, and the history of HeLa cells. Through these efforts, Henrietta Lacks' story has inspired generations of researchers, doctors, and students to consider both the scientific and human aspects of their work. Henrietta's life was short, but her impact has been immeasurable. She lived a life of love, perseverance, and quiet strength. Her cells helped develop treatments for polio, cancer, and many other diseases. They have been used in cloning, gene mapping, and countless scientific experiments. Millions of people worldwide have benefited from Henrietta's cells, and her story continues to be taught in schools, universities, and medical institutions. Her story also reminds us of the importance of recognizing the people behind scientific discoveries. Henrietta Lacks was not a scientist, but her cells became one of the most valuable tools in science. Her life teaches us that ordinary people can make extraordinary contributions, even without knowing it. Henrietta's courage in facing illness, her dedication to her family, and her unintentional gift to science make her a symbol of human resilience and the unseen impact one life can have on the world. In the end, Henrietta Lacks' legacy is not only in the HeLa cells that continue to save lives, but also in the ethical standards and awareness she inspired. Her story bridges science and humanity, showing that progress must respect the dignity and rights of individuals. Henrietta's name lives on in laboratories, textbooks, and hearts around the world, reminding us that even in death, a life lived with courage and generosity can leave a mark that never fades. Henrietta Lacks may have left the world too soon, but through her cells and her story, she will live forever, a quiet hero whose gift to humanity will never be forgotten.